What's up, you guys? So today we're going to talk about the most hated transmission on an E46, which is, you got it right, that SMG transmission. Honestly, it's arguably the worst transmission on earth, which is not true at all. People say it's rough, it doesn't shift well, the pump is always failing, and save the manuals. Honestly, if you've never driven an M3 with an SMG, then honestly, don't judge. It's like what people say, don't judge a book by its cover. But most of you guys are gonna take it to the grave that the SMG was the worst transmission ever put on an E46 M3 and blah blah blah. They're gonna keep going, they're gonna take it to the grave. But honestly, it is not the worst transmission ever. So one thing that people complain about the most is the roughness. People say that the transmission is rough whenever you shift, whenever you downshift, and when you shift, it takes 10 seconds to go into the next gear. Yes, out there's a lot of SMG transmissions where people abused, people obviously don't know how to drive them, and obviously people end up breaking them. SMG transmission is just like driving a new type of car, as in a new transmission that you've never driven before, because honestly it's like an automatic, but it's actually not. It has a hydraulic that makes it shift into gear, so it's not really an automatic where it does it exactly by itself, but it does, if you know what I mean. This transmission, you actually have to learn how to drive it, and once you learn how to drive it, it will drive smooth like oil, like water, like butter. So before you judge it, make sure you drive one. Another thing people complain about the most is the pumps, that the SMG pump is always failing, is always failing, is always failing. But honestly, 95% of the time, it's not the pump, guys. You're wasting your money on buying all these brand new pumps, but it's actually not the pump. I actually did some research before I actually went ahead and talked about this topic in this video, and most of the time, it's the motor. The little motor that is inside the pump that actually makes it shift. That motor is what actually goes out the quickest. So I recommend you guys, if you have an SMG transmission and you think it's the pump, it might be, but it might be not. If that's what's the problem, then you just need to change the little motor and add it, and you don't have to change the pump. It will save you tons of money and tons of time. So before you change the entire pump, just make sure you check the motor first. And some of you might say, oh Chris, but there's still not a high demand for it. Yes, there's not a high demand for SMG transmissions because the manuals are obviously taken over, and people prefer the manual more because they feel like they need to save the manuals. Don't let automatics take over. And yeah, the manual is a fun car. I actually never driven one, but a manual on an E46 M3 is actually fun. I have friends that actually have one, and they tell me it's like one of the best things that they ever did was go from an automatic car to a manual, especially that type of car. And the manuals tend to go for more money, which one was actually sold, I remember in my last video I said it was actually sold for $90,000 coupe, and it was a manual. And yeah, manuals just tend to go higher. Actually, they're probably gonna tend to keep its high peak for maybe a couple of years, but I know as soon as everybody starts to destroy the SMG, then everybody either converts to a manual, and then there ends up being no SMG M3s out there. The rareness of an E46 M3 having an SMG is actually gonna become more rare. So actually the ones that people do have are gonna end up going and having a high demand, because eventually there's not gonna be any more out there in the streets. Everyone is gonna have a manual, and it's actually gonna make it more rare. And actually, I've been waiting this whole video to say this. Some of you are gonna cringe, some of you are gonna hate me, some of you are gonna unsubscribe, but I'm just gonna say it.
I'm about to say it.
Say it. The SMG is faster than a manual. Some of you are like, my heart, we just lost another soldier. But yeah, in all reality, the SMG is faster than a manual. Why? Obviously, technology is quicker than the hand or the foot. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that you have the fastest foot and the fastest hand to shift gears than actually technology doing it. Again, there's some cars that actually with the SMG tend to be slower than obviously manuals when shifting gears. Thing you could do to SMG is just do a software update. Obviously the regular M3 with the SMG and the M3 CSL that also has a SMG, obviously there's a software difference. The normal one, the base version, has obviously a delayed software, and that CSL has a obviously updated version of the software. But the best thing you can do is obviously update the software. If you have the regular M3 SMG, you take it to somebody that codes and you code the new software onto your M3, which would make it just as fast and just as you could say reliable as the CSL. And back to it, for the people that are still saying that manuals are faster than the SMG, actually, then listen to this question. So how come BMW put an SMG on the CSL? Answer that question. If it was such a bad transmission, then why BMW will put it on a race car, on the CSL, which is the Sport Plus of all the E46 M3s? On the track, the SMG is faster than the manual, and it's proven facts. If you have an SMG, don't let others discourage you by saying that you bought the worst of the worst or the worst of the E46 M3s. You should have got a manual and this and that. SMG fans, I'm gonna give you 2 software updates that you could do to it to make it obviously better, and the rev matches are a lot better. What you could do is a CSL software and a TTFS software update. It will make the shifts faster. It would actually make a huge difference to your car. These softwares are around $200, which is not that bad, and you actually could do this yourself because there's a couple websites where they actually sell the software. On all you need is just a USB cable and just a computer. You plug it into your car, and then you actually could do the software by yourself. Some of you might say like, oh, I'm being biased because I already own an SMG, so I'm trying to stick to that group instead of being with the manuals. No, actually I'm not being biased. I'm just going with proven facts, you know, because obviously before I made this video, I did a lot of research. I obviously got facts. I obviously have people to back it up. I actually have a couple of friends that have the SMG, and they told me that this was wrong and this was the best thing about it. And overall, the biggest question that I've asked myself was, why did they put the SMG in the CSL, which is way faster than the regular base and the regular manual? And it is true. It was like, why would they put a bad transmission into that car if they're gonna use it for, you know, track and stuff like that? Guys, before you judge the SMG, drive it and actually drive it with an open mind. Don't go in there being biased because you love manuals. And man, just yeah, is it the worst? It is not the worst. It's actually fair. It's just as good as the manual. You just gotta drive it right. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that I changed some of you guys' opinion about it. If not, if you're gonna take it to the grave, then do what you gotta do. But I honestly think the SMG is worth it. Doesn't matter if you get the manual or the SMG. If you tend to, like, you know, buy it and resell it a couple years down the line, then you could obviously get the manual because there's a high demand. But yeah, guys, if you feel like I missed something about the SMG that should have been said, you know, say down in the comments. If you don't like this video, then still like the video. If you feel like that the SMG is still the worst, then, you know, say in the comments down below. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.